Welcome to Work That Matters, the podcast hosted by the esteemed Lesley Israel. Today, in this very special episode, we're venturing beyond our usual discussions on politics and government to explore a deeply meaningful aspect of Lesley's life, her remarkable work for the Jewish communities all over the world. While Lesley is renowned for her expertise in political campaigns and politics, her lifelong passion for advocating for her faith has been equally influential in shaping her journey, if not more so. Now, throughout her illustrious career, Lesley's dedication to her Jewish heritage has been a driving force, instilling in her a profound sense of purpose and compassion. And in this upcoming candid conversation, which is a long time coming, we gain unique insights into how her faith has guided her path and really enriched her understanding of the world. But without further ado, I give you the woman of the hour, Lesley Israel. Hello, Lesley. How are you today?
I am just fine, thank you. How are you?
Very well, and I understand you're the birthday girl today.
I am indeed.
Well, happy birthday.
But I'm only 1 day older.
Only 1 day older, that's right. Well, that's good. Well, we've got a lot to cover, so I'll launch right into it. I want to open with this. Now that you're retired from politics, are you more active in your faith-based activities and pursuits, or about the same?
About the same. My friend's 96. He's great. His home, his mind is fine. He's in good shape. But he's in a wheelchair and he has to go out and do a whole lot. So my life is built around him at this point, which is the most important and most pleasant thing there could be.
Of course. Well said. Now, how did your experiences as a political consultant shape your understanding of advocacy and public relations, and how did that influence your involvement in Jewish causes and the preservation of American heritage abroad?
Well, you learn how to deal with other people in a way that resounds with them. And so if it's political or religious or anything else, it's still the same kind of developing a relationship that matters on both sides.
I see. Very interesting. Now, can you share a memorable campaign or project you worked on that directly impacted the Jewish community or supported Jewish causes? And also, what were the challenges you faced and how did you overcome them?
Well, I don't know which one specifically affected the Jewish community, but the most important one in my life has always been the Humphrey campaigns.
Right. I know that was a very significant one.
Very significant, very close, very personal.
Right, of course. And how about for Jewish causes specifically?
Well, of course, I did stuff in Israel, which was always important. And felt good. And every time I went there, they'd look at my passport and say, "Really?" Or my last name.
Yep, Mrs. Israel. Exactly. Yep. Okay, well, as a former president of the National Coalition Supporting Eurasian Jewry, what initiatives did you undertake to advocate for Jewish communities in the former Soviet Union, and what impact did those efforts have?
Oh, God, it's hard to remember what the impact was. It was getting involved and bringing them involved so that they weren't just doing something that didn't matter, that was within the Jewish community, and that's very personal. So that was important, and it got people to feel much more involved and much more connected to one another.
How did your work on international elections and election training contribute to the promotion of democracy and the protection of human rights, particularly in countries with Jewish communities?
Well, I don't know if it was any different whether there was a Jewish community or not. What it did was give people their own voice in their own lives, and that was critically important for them to feel that they could say what mattered to them and know that the people who needed to hear it heard it and responded.
Very good. Now, in your role as a member of the Presidential Commission on the Preservation of American Heritage Abroad, what steps did you take to preserve and protect Jewish heritage sites and historical landmarks outside of the U.S.?
Oh, God, I gotta remember. Part of it was making people realize how important those were. They weren't churches or cathedrals or palaces.
Mm-hmm.
They were places of worship and human development for the Jewish community, which had a personal meaning to all of us.
Sure, of course. Could you tell us about your involvement with organizations like Bosnian Handicrafts Incorporated, Save a Child's Heart, and Talbot Humane?
Yeah, it's very personal. I mean, Bosnian Handicrafts was something I was deeply involved in. A friend of mine headed it, and I got very involved in. And it was giving the people in Bosnia, particularly the women, a voice,
Mm-hmm.
something they could do. And what the other was, what were the other questions?
The other Save a Child's Heart.
Oh, Save a Child's Heart is very important. It saved the lives of how many thousands of children in countries where they couldn't get the proper medical care.
Oh, yeah. That's very important.
But we were able to help them get it and save their lives and go on and live to be wonderful, flourishing adults.
Good. And how about the Talbot Humane?
Talbot Humane is special. I love animals. And
You do. You're a great animal lover. I know that.
Oh, yeah. Served on the board. In fact, I'm still recovering from a year ago when I wanted to adopt a 13-year-old from Talbot Humane, a 13-year-old dog,
Mm-hmm.
and they said no. And I thought, what? I was on the board here? Why can't I say no?
Right.
I said, no. It's 13 years old. It won't outlive me.
Well, as a member of the Anti-Defamation League's National Executive Committee, what key initiatives have you been involved in to combat anti-Semitism and promote understanding and tolerance?
I'm trying to remember. To combat anti-Semitism, people had to understand this was a very personal thing. It's not, you're black, you're Jewish, you're Italian, whatever.
Right.
We were people, and this is part of who we were,
Mm-hmm.
but we were still people.
Right.
And people had to understand that this was not a stigma, but just a part of describing who we are.
Right. Okay. Beautifully stated. Now, how has your extensive political consulting experience informed your approach to addressing serious image challenges faced by Jewish communities or organizations? And I guess another way to put it is, how do you navigate public relations in such sensitive contexts?
God, I don't even know how to answer that one.
It's a dense question. It's a big one, I know.
But you're being part of a larger picture and bringing everybody in to understand this larger picture, part of the whole story.
Right.
We aren't just Jewish or just white or just Israeli or Italian
Sure.
or whatever.
Yeah.
This is part of our personalities and who we are.
Okay. Very good. Now, can you share a specific example of a successful advocacy campaign or project where you effectively bridge the worlds of politics and Jewish causes? Were there any of those?
I'm sure there have been, and I just don't remember.
Right. I know you've had a long career. That's for sure.
It's been a long time.
Looking back on your career, what lessons or insights would you like to pass on to the next generation of political consultants and individuals involved in the Jewish world and related causes?
Is to communicate with everybody else. We're not just Jewish. That's a piece of what we are.
Right.
But we are much larger than that, and much more complicated and more impressive than that. And so that people have to understand that who you are is made up of many, many factors, and every one is just as important. The color, whether it's the color of your skin, or the church or synagogue you go to, house of worship you go to, or anything else. We're a combination of things. We're not just identity things.
Right. Very well said. Now, here's an interesting one. As somebody who does not support Donald Trump and did not support Donald Trump, how do you assess his administration's policies and actions regarding the state of Israel? And were there any initiatives or decisions that you feel positively impacted the U.S.-Israel relationship?
Well, I don't know that, because our relationship had nothing to do with Donald Trump.
No.
It was very personal and very much involved and instructive. So I can't tell you that Trump had an implication with my relationship with Israel.
Right.
Israel was the important thing. And again, at the same time, every time I went through the border, they looked at my passport. They said, "Really?"
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And last but certainly not least, looking ahead, what are your hopes and concerns even regarding the future of the U.S.-Israel relationship?
I hope it stays very close.
Yeah.
And that it's very personal. It's not just an academic thing. It's a thing it's in my genes for me. Mm-hmm. I mean, for a lot of people, they're not Jewish, and so when I visit the Vatican, I feel very strongly, but the Pope isn't my king. But,
yeah.
But it's part of who I am. It's part of who I grew up as being, and part of who I am as an adult.
Yeah.
And it's not just, it's not just the religious part, it's the personal side and the who we believe and what we believe side.
Right. Of course. Now, are there any specific aspects or areas where you'd like to see continued progress or potential improvements?
Well, there are people in the world who are still anti-Semitic.
Right.
There are a lot of people in the world who are anti-Semitic. And we need to get rid of that.
Yeah.
And it's there all the time. And so that's the most important thing, is to get rid of anti-Semitism.
Right. Absolutely. And it's amazing that it still exists in this day and age. It's surprising.
It is amazing.
Really remarkable.